The National Heritage designation continues, and that's also funding for the Heritage Corridor and a lot of good stuff. And in the boom times, up until 2010, I would say, a significant amount of federal money came through. And so we were the recipient for some of that. And then the Urban River Restoration Initiative, that was EPA's designation, and it's still appropriate to the Blackstone. All right, got to move along. Next. So what are we doing? In business for the Blackstone, got to love that title. That was meant to get local businesses to do the right thing around their shop and their yard and their shopping center and their parking lot. And if they did the 10, 12 prescribed best management practices, we would give them a decal and write up a press release and get a picture in the paper. And that is still the concept, and it's a good one. However, small businesses are very busy, and it's hard to get them involved. So it is still a very useful opportunity to highlight businesses who are doing the right thing for whatever reasons. So we've had quite a few good case studies of businesses who've done that, but we haven't been so active in the last 5-10 years. So we're not going to talk about water quality, we'll get into that. Tackling stormwater. This is a 4-pronged approach that we took 20 years ago, and I think it still makes sense. That if you're interested in improving water quality, you got to get to local decision makers, i.e. planning boards, whoever is reviewing land use changes, which in Massachusetts, Rhode Island tends to be the local decision makers. So we took from Franklin low impact development guidelines. Another audience is developers. We put together a big conference, again, about 10 years ago, thinking that if we could get an example of a developer who was doing good cluster, that we could encourage other developers to do the same. There aren't really any good cluster developments in the Blackstone. There are great ones in Hopkinton and nearby. And 10 years ago, there were not too many good examples. There are better now. So developers, homeowners, Donna spent a lot of time doing outreach and for the homeowners, a series of handouts from everything, picking up your poop to fertilizers and back when the issue was phosphorus in the laundry detergent. So we have a whole series, both were paper and of course are electronic now.
That's it. Right?
That's it. So go back up. Riverbank restoration, we were the recipient of a grant from EPA for bioengineering, and that helped fund some restoration in Grafton and the Eco Machine at Fisherville. Some of you might know that. The other things we have received grants in the past on cold water fisheries, both outreach and identifying and going around dog and pony shows, mostly to the Conservation Commission, somewhat to the Planning Board. Land use, we've developed outreach for homeowners and horse owners and developers. Wastewater treatment, we got very involved with the nutrient limits for the Upper Blackstone and advocated for that. And that's an ongoing issue, but at least it's established standards that are a high bar to achieve, but with a quantitative standard for phosphorus and nitrogen, we're seeing significant improvements in the river and downstream in the bay. Stream flow, we had established gauges and got involved. appealing Shrewsbury's water withdrawal and a lot of good stuff there. Recreational opportunities, that's not ours so much, but we're always trying to get access to the river for canoes as well. And education outreach, pre-COVID, we would do a lot of community outreach. Since COVID, not so much. But I got to do a shout out now to Joanne Hollahan at the BRWA. She is really taking on education and outreach, and Heather's able to help her. And there is so much that needs to be done in that regard and can be done. So it's nice to get a little funding to pay for that. All right. What you should know. So we had a long focus on rain gardens to the rescue. And rain gardens in Worcester is a hard thing to do, with all these steep slopes, all the impervious cover. But where there's a will, there's a way. And you can shoehorn rain gardens in a lot of areas that might not be recommended. But if the owner wants to do it and they're willing to maintain the garden, it can really enhance property. But it's a garden and it does need care and it does need planning, and you shouldn't just throw them in anywhere. So we've invested in a lot of case studies around Worcester and in Woonsocket, and there's a lot out there. All right. Fish Passage, this is now being led by, Stephanie's taking the lead, but the Friends of the Blackstone Watershed Council, they've always been, in my mind, the key advocates, the locals pushing for Fish Passage, and it's agonizing how long it's taking, but I am quite hopeful with a renewed focus, at least on the first 4 dams. We might not see fish ladders, but we will see a program started up for bringing back shad and alewives. So I like to think Rydam's going to make that happen, but we got to help them. Watershed planning, thanks to the estuary program, they've really revitalized the focus on a watershed-wide approach, and the collaborative, a lot of good energy going forward. There's a lot of federal monies out there. The challenge is to make the connections with the localities to get projects on the ground with willing owners. So the challenge often is working with the towns, because they're key. They got to, in many cases. But where we've had most success is if you're not involved in the town, but you're involved with the landowner. If you find a willing landowner, you can make things happen. And there's monies out there. It's hard finding projects that the landowner is willing. You got to be able to move quick. So outreach, the towns are key. And now with MVP, they're in the game with improvements to our infrastructure. You got to kind of shoehorn in wildlife habitat and water quality. It seems to me most of the projects are flooding, but it's all a good thing, and focus on reducing impervious areas at all levels. So I'm talking too much, but we're going to go up to where you fit in, and this is where I'm going to give thanks to our volunteers, especially with the water quality program. But the River Coalition, really, our 3 principal members are, we call them the Bs, the Blackstone River Watershed Association in Massachusetts, Blackstone Headwaters Coalition around Worcester, and in Rhode Island, the Blackstone River Watershed Council. So those 3 Bs are citizens volunteering, trying to do a whole lot. So I often feel guilty as a paid part-time consultant, kind of trying to help these volunteers do their work. And I'm sitting at meetings and I'm getting paid, and they're not. But I think we have, going forward, especially with MVP, if people want to step up and be more than just a volunteer and actually get involved, there are now opportunities that they can get reimbursed a little bit. So there's different organizations, but our volunteers have been wonderful, and that's not where I wanted to end, though. I wanted to go to funding, right? Access to the river. What was that?
Oh, funding's in the slideshow. Do you want that?
Oh, well, yeah, I think so. And then I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the slideshow now. Are you seeing the slideshow, Kaylee?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to skip to kind of the end to show this slide. Okay.
So rather than thanks, this is kind of a history of where our monies came from. So we have been recipients of supplemental environmental projects, which if the timing is right and a developer or a bad person is going to get penalized for what they did, you can create a project in lieu of that penalty. So beginning with Lincoln Plaza in 2003, that funding bought us our first equipment to really upgrade Mass Audubon's color wheels and turn them into quantifiable QAP quality data. So with that purchase of equipment through SEPs, we also received, when the upper Blackstone lost electricity and there was a major impact to the river, we received some significant fundings to upgrade our program. We have gotten funding from, besides each of the Bs, put up $2,000 cash each year. Okay, doesn't sound like much, but that's $6,000 a year. Over 20 years, that's $120,000. Those organizations have stepped up to fund the program. Our budget for the water quality is close to $25,000 a year. Times 20, that's close to $500,000. It's just been going and going like the bunny rabbit endures, and our volunteers keep going. And we've struggled with funding, but we've been able to scrape, thanks also to the French Foundation. Thank you to the Heritage Corridor. Thank you to the Park Service. Last couple of years, thank you to Mass DEP for their special water quality, allowed us to do some bacteria funding, allowed us to upgrade our database, allowed us to do a lot of good work. So I will leave that there and maybe take any questions before Heather goes into hers. Or people can think about questions and raise your hands, but why don't you go on to your program?
Okay.
Are you going to be able to see it and raise hands?
No.
Kaylee, if I could ask you to scan for raised hands, and if you see any, interrupt me or Heather.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right, so my name's Heather Perry. I'm the coordinator for the water quality monitoring program. And just a little background, this is our 20th season, and we have 75 sites across the whole watershed that are covered for about 100 volunteers. We broke the watershed into 3 areas: the headwaters, the mid-reach, and Rhode Island section, and each has a lab run by one of the 3 Bs, as Peter said. And we sample the second Saturday of every month from April to November. So we don't sample in the winter. And these are the parameters that we sample for. For the aesthetics, we included in that is a visual assessment of turbidity, odor, trash, erosion, nuisance, aquatic plants as well. So our sampling is conducted using a QAP that was approved by the DEP. But we are updating the QAP and we're using this great app called AquaQAP that was developed by the Massachusetts Bay National Estuaries Program. And it's a really good resource for anybody that's developing a QAP or redeveloping it as we are. And then just a quick little note, we are looking for a field coordinator for our middle reach. It's a, part-time paid position. I'm not sure how many hours I'd have to, but if anyone's interested or knows, someone that might be interested, they can either contact myself or Ted Bouvet, and I can put my email in the chat when we're done with this. So that's the QAP. So we have the map. This is our clickable map, which is on the website. I just did screenshots because the map can kind of go a little bit slowly, especially if a lot of people are on it. So we just wanted to make sure it worked for this presentation, and it will work for you when you're playing around with it individually at home. But so this is what it looks like. This is our entire watershed with the sites on it.
If I could interrupt, thank you so much to Mariel Sorlian. She's the GIS woman down at the Estuary Program, and she was the one who made it happen, technical assistance.
Yes, she developed this whole map. So just to note, so in the parameter score on the key here, that is just for the selected parameter and year. So if you see there's some X's here, it doesn't mean there's no data at all. It's specifically looking at that parameter and that year. So that's why. So I just made this little visual to kind of illustrate that. So this is, I selected dissolved oxygen saturation for 2004. And if you look in this area here, you can see there's data for that year, but then in 2019, there's not data. And it was probably, for whatever reason, those sites were dropped from the original, set that we started with.
So you search for Worcester. So that's the outline of the city of Worcester.
Yes.
So you see how many sites we have in Worcester. That's often the X's might have been a one-time site that we don't test, but we got a lot of sites.
Yep. Yes, so I selected just for Worcester. You can select by watershed or town. So I'll show that here. You can select by watershed or town, and then when this drop down pops up, it will have everything selected. So you have to, if you're looking at one specific town, you would deselect all and then select which town. So I selected Worcester. So you can see that's zoomed into that. And then, so that was the map tab. With the report card tab, you can select data for all this, any parameter that you want. You can select any site that you want or all of the sites. And then the locate the year that you want to select data for. And it will, you have the option to download it as a PDF. So this is just an example of a PDF report card. So keep in mind, this is for just dissolved oxygen at this site for 2019. So that got a fair rating. And it's a little different than our report card that we have in the past put out, which covers all the parameters for one site. It gives it an overall report card. So this is like parameter based. So then you can go to the graphs tab, and again, you can select the same. You can select towns. You can select up to 3 sites and 1 parameter, and then a date range that you want to look at. And the reason we had to limited it to 3 sites was for 2 reasons. One was the speed that the database and the website could handle downloading that data, and just how cluttered the graph would be if you had too many sites. So just a few things to point out about the graph. We have a space between each year because we don't monitor the winter. So that's why there's that gap. And then there's this little red zone is the warm water fisheries, because I selected temperature. This would be if it was in the red zone, it's unacceptable for, I think it's a class B water. So, all these sites were below the class B. And you can adjust the date range. You can also adjust the date range with this little slider here. And you also have the option to look at it as a table, if you'd rather view it as a table. So for downloading data, this is, I think, really exciting because people can take the data and use it how they would like to use it. And we would hope that you would cite our data. We have to change the website, but to this new website address. But so in this example, again, I selected Worcester, all the sampling locations, and you can select as many parameters and sampling locations as you want. And then you have the 3 options to download the data in the form that you want it. And then this was just an example of an Excel file that I downloaded, and I had selected Worcester. So this is all the sites in Worcester. The first tab shows you all the sites that you selected. The second tab is all of the numerical data. And so for this example, I just had selected dissolved oxygen and orthophosphate. So you can see there's, starting in 2014 all the way to whatever the date range was, you'll have all that data. And then the third tab is the the text or qualitative data that we collect. And in this example, I had selected nuisance aquatic vegetation and water appearance. So I have all that data that you can download. It has our, our site names. And that's it. And we hope that everybody is able to, the goal of this was that it's easily accessible and people can use the data and put it to good use. And the website, we're still kind of in the beta, I guess, website. So if anybody has any suggestions or questions, you can email myself or Peter, and we'll try to deal with that.
Go back to showing the report card. I get that here. We got stretched a little because for those who aren't as familiar with our data, so we do the 8 months, but then we have latched on to a report card analysis developed by DEP, which gives a red, yellow, green, good, poor, fair report. And so each year we generate that report for each of the sites for those, and we combine the nutrients. What this has allowed us to do is to transfer those standards and those color systems to our monthly analysis. So you don't have to wait for the assessment. So we have had to come up with our own definitions of what is poor, fair, and good for phosphorus and nitrogen. There are certain standards with the dissolved oxygen, whatever are out there, but we were forced to kind of say what is good, bad. So there's a lot of opportunities to slice and dice the data. But we'll leave it at that.
And I'll also say, right now, the newest data is 2019. That's because our data that was taken kind of during COVID times wasn't quality controlled yet. So we're working on finishing that, and then that data will be uploaded as well. So will be coming soon. And Peter went over this, and then I also wanted to give out a big thank you to the Narragansett Estuary Program and Mariel, who helped us develop the clickable map, and then the Mass DEP French Foundation and Blackstone Watershed Collaborative that helped fund redoing our whole website. So thank you.
Great. Yeah, Marielle is wonderful. She is the best of the best. So I'm glad you guys got her for GIS.
Yeah, we were very
Um,
lucky. She was great.
Yeah, she presented her EJ map yesterday. I got to sit in on that presentation, and it's going to be a great resource. I'm really excited about it. Um, yeah, no, this is great. I'm really excited to add this map to our GIS hub on the Collaboratives website. Does anyone have any questions? I didn't see any hands. David? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Peter, I'm really interested in part of the MVP project I'm working on now is to the Mumford River, and part of that I reached out to the Nipmuc tribe and had a good conversation with Greg Corliss, who I think probably people know, and the Friends of the Blackstone, John, a guy named John. But anyway, what they're doing a sediment study. The tribe has gotten federal money and is working with Brown University to do a sediment study for the whole river. It sounds like he's getting started on it. But I mentioned this Fisherville project that you had mentioned, and the Ocean Arcs International, I think, was involved with that, and some local people. And I never was able to get a report on that. Do you have anything?
Well, go check our website, Dave. There's
Okay, I will. Okay, if it's on the website,
it's
I'll go
all
there. Okay, that was my only question. Yeah, great. Okay.
The eco machine. No, but it brings up, there has been 20 years ago, there was a lot of investigation on contaminated sediments. USGS was brought in, but there's only one document that really came out of that. The Army Corps was going to balance their work, and the Rhode Island work was going to focus on fish passage. In Massachusetts, it was supposed to work for habitat for migratory waterfowl. So we were going to excavate pocket pools in Fisherville Pond to increase the habitat for that great flyway. But they discovered the sediments were so bad would be leading the ducks to their death. I don't know if it's so bad. Well, then we shifted the focus to Millbury and the Millbury Electric Dam. Let's take down a dam that's already 3/4 destructed. Well, there's contaminated sediments. It's going to cost more than $1 million to take that out. And at the time, there wasn't a partner ready to step forward. So it's been a bugaboo, all these contaminated sediments behind all the dams, but it shouldn't stop us from trying to do good work. But it's very expensive. And yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yes, that's huge. Yeah. Okay, I'll look at your website though. Thank you.
But I should also, because we've just received, along with that money that's gone to the Nipmucs, CLF has sued Schnitzer, and so we're going to get $50,000 to pay for the next 2 years of our water quality monitoring, and the BRWC is going to do access. So again, an example of a SEP coming through.
Yeah, go ahead, Craig. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Just curious, do you have a plan or how, so often I see like websites designed by someone that looks great, and then the designer moves along, and the people left behind sometimes struggle to sort of keep it up to date and keep it maintained. So I'm kind of just wondering what your plan is for that, just so you're not in kind of the same situation some years down the road where we're trying to like pick up the pieces. And then the other comment I had was just that I was really glad you had so much history on the site, because so much of that is so important and so relevant to the story. And a lot of times it just sort of ends up being oral history that gets passed down, and at some point it gets lost. So documenting that stuff and making that accessible, I think, is super important.
Well, thank you. I think I'll pass on the credit for Donna Williams producing outreach material that is timeless, because even though it's 15 years old, it's still, things haven't changed, when it comes to erosion and what we should be doing. I am a technical dinosaur, but yes, Heather now has the capacity to update this website without too much difficulty. I think all of us could be trained to do it because it's got to be kept live and we have to invest in it. So we've made the investment. Now we're going to keep it maintained.
Great. Go ahead, Susie.
Thanks. Yeah, this is awesome to see. Great website and really awesome progress on your water quality data visualization. That's really neat. I was curious about the EPA's WQX database and if your data kind of like seamlessly, is uploaded to that or the DEP database, and if that like was part of how you thought about how to set all this up. And also if you're familiar with sounds like you probably are since you use AquaClap, but I know the Mass-based National Estuary Program also developed some R tools for formatting data and analyzing data. So I'm just curious if all of these things fit together, if you decide to do something different, or how they're all related.
Yeah, so we had received funding a couple years ago from the DEP through the water quality grant to work on a database, and we actually have an R-based database that we just finished like just as that other one was coming out. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so and our the person that did it for us, Dan Crocker, is great. He's still involved and he's helping us maintain that, and he's agreed to kind of hang on and help us maintain that. And he developed a script that just puts the data in a format for the DEP's portal, water
Nice.
quality portal. So it's like exactly what it needs. It has a quality control section and the whole data and everything. So we were excited to see that other announcement that you just were talking about, but we're like, oh, we just did that too. but we're
all
very
gets to the
happy
same endpoint, right?
Yep.
Cool. It looks great. Nice work.
Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Not seeing any hands. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Heather and Peter. That was wonderful. Definitely going to be a great resource for us in the future. Definitely.
Letting us share.
Yeah, of course. And just saying, we do not have anyone scheduled to present in November. So if you want to present in November, feel free to contact myself or Steph. Great. Okay, so we'll move on.
Stephanie, I'm still looking at my calendar to see if I could do something on growing solar.
Oh, great.
for you
Yeah,
in
that would be
November,
wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Definitely let us know. Great. So we can move on. I'm just going to highlight a couple things that have been going on for us in the Blackstone. First of all, Fish Passage. So DEM and the Nature Conservancy submitted a $20 million grant to further the design, permitting, and construction of Fish Passage over the lowest 3 dams in the Blackstone. So I believe that was submitted as of Monday of this week. So that's really exciting. It's been a long time coming. And in both the agenda and the notes, we'll have a 1-pager on the project that you can access, and a PowerPoint that Steph, of a presentation that Steph recently gave on Fish Passage in the Blackstone at the NBP annual symposium on biodiversity. So that will also be available in the notes as well. And DEM is working on creating a small monthly advisory committee and a quarterly public meeting to provide updates on Fish Passage as well. So definitely look out for those in the future. So, okay. CMRPC also wants to hear your feedback about extreme heat. So they have an extreme heat survey coming out that asks community members about awareness of high heat events, how you cope with it, how easy it is to access water, fans, AC, and all of that. So that is linked in our agenda and notes as well. And a team from USGS, Mass Wildlife, and UMass are working on building a network of people and organizations interested in advancing cold water stream habitat in the Northeast. So their first phase is to start building a network via a 3-hour-long online forum. So if you're interested in getting involved with that, there is a form that you can fill out, again, in both the notes and the agenda that we'll send out after the meeting. So it's just a quick form so you can join the network and indicate your availability to participate in some of the stuff that they have going on. So then Mass Rivers Alliance, Save the Alewife Brook, and the Charles River Watershed Association, as well as the Mystic River Water Association, just held a briefing on CSO, combined sewer overflows, on October 19th. So I actually was at an event, so I couldn't make it, but I was told that there would be a recording. So if anybody has a link to that recording and wants to drop it in the chat, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll go and find it later and send it in the notes in the agenda. So that'll be around, definitely.
Kaylee, this is Sarah from Mass Rivers. I don't have a link at the moment, but I can get that from our policy specialist, Catherine Lang. So I can share that with you and then you can pass it along.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sarah. Yeah. I'll also plug that on Sunday, this Sunday, the Blackstone River Water Council and the Narragansett Indian Tribe and the Nipmuc Tribe will be hosting an intertribal gathering at Slater Mill from 1 to 4. So that'll be a really great event if you're available on Sunday. On October 23rd, the Mass Floodplain Managers Annual Conference will be held. It's a technical program, and some of the topics include riverine, coastal floodplain management, climate resiliency and adaptation, ecological restoration, nature-based solutions, and more. And then the one I'm most excited about, next Thursday, the collaborative is hosting our dam removal and ecological 101 training at Clark University in Worcester. So we're really excited about this program. The beginning of the day will be speakers talking about funding, logistics, how you even start dam removal. There'll be speakers from NOAA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, other folks as well. And then in the afternoon, we'll have Emily Vogler, who is, she actually presented a couple months ago at the collab meeting. She is a landscape architect at RISD, and she's been working on the Dam Atlas for about 6 years. So a long time coming, but she created this wonderful hands-on resource that we're going to be utilizing as a charrette in the afternoon. So that'll be from, I believe, like 1 to 4. So we'll have plenty of time to do that. And we're really excited to do that, as well as have our wonderful speakers as well. So if you want to register, it's not too late. We have the registration link. I'll drop it in the chat a little bit later, but it's also on our website as well under the events page. So feel free to sign up. It's free and we're really excited. And I think that is all from me. So we'll move on to partner updates. If anybody has anything that they want to share, feel free to drop it in the chat or raise your hand or just shout it out, whatever you're most comfortable with.
I just wanted to give a quick heads up that the intertribal gathering at the old Slater Mill, if the wind is too bad, we'll just be moving right across the street to the Blackstone Visitor Center. So you can still use the parking lot, so tons of parking, and hope to see you there.
Thanks, Kevin. Susie?
Yeah, I just stuck it in the chat, a link, but starting in November, another dam removal resources, there will be a series of 1-hour webinars on different dam removal topics as well. So the link's in the chat there for folks interested.
Heidi? Heidi, did you have something you wanted to add?
I'm sorry, my
No worries.
dog. Who are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my dog is distracting me. There's a big flock of grackles in the backyard eating acorns, and he's a hunting dog and he wants me to let him out to chase them.
No worries.
So, yeah, I put in the chat the link to Mass Audubon's Growing Solar Protecting Nature report, and I'm trying to see if I can arrange my schedule to talk with more about it next time and answer any questions. But we did an analysis with Harvard Forest, looking at, is it possible under different scenarios to get the solar we need to meet the clean energy and climate plan goal of net zero by 2050, while still protecting the nature we have and greatly reducing the pace of loss of forest land that we're seeing to large ground mounted projects. So we concluded that yes, it is possible to get the solar we need while protecting the nature that we have. And so the report explains how we've done that analysis, and really just think that some of the incentives need to be switched around a bit to provide the necessary incentives and support for more deployment in the built environment, rooftops, parking lots, and also, little patches of land around developed areas where it's feasible to do these projects. It's just a bit more costly, but the cost, when you look at it, is offset by the costs associated with, losing more forest, etc. And then I also just wanted to update that, some of that we had done with CLF a survey on people's interest in and challenges in conducting wetlands restoration and nature-based solutions projects. And we now have those results, and we'll be presenting them at the MACC Fall Conference at Devon's on October 28th. And I anticipate that after that conference happens, we'll also be making the PDF of the information available broadly.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, I'm really excited to look through the Growing Solar Protecting Nature report. I haven't had the time, but it's on my list. I'm really excited to go through it.
And I know there's also a YouTube recording of the launch presentation, so I'm going to try to find that now too. I'll put that in the chat.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Amy?
Hey guys, I have to bounce right now for another meeting, but I just threw something in the chat. I'm offering a free workshop at 4:00 on Monday for any social impact orgs that are interested in developing internship programs. So, but Kaylee, great job running the meeting. It was so wonderful to hear the updates. Great job, everybody. It's amazing what we're all doing. Take care. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Amy.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, Judy?
Hi, yeah, just a couple of things that I wanted to share. The first is that the Watershed Planning Program is sponsoring a Fostering Sustainable Behavior Community-Based Social Marketing Workshop on December 11th, 12th, and 13th. Those are 3 half-day workshops. It's not 3 full-day a commitment. This is a free workshop that we're providing. We're funding it so that watershed organizations throughout the state can learn, about this social marketing strategy and hopefully help develop their capacity to deliver their environmental outreach programs. The workshop is led by Dr. Doug Mackenzie Moore. I don't know if anyone is familiar with him. He's the founder of community-based social marketing. So the training will provide a comprehensive introduction to the 5 steps of community-based social marketing. And I will be sending out an email announcement starting next week. So if anyone would like to attend, or if anyone has staff who you think should be attending the workshop, email me and I will put you on our email list to make sure that you get an invitation to that. So that's judith.rondo@mass.gov. And secondly, I think as I announced last month, we're still on track for our 2023, 2024 Clean Water Act 604B, Water Quality Management Planning, and 319 non-point source management grants. We'll be holding our pre-RFR meetings in mid-November. So that's an opportunity for anyone who's interested in the two grants to learn a little bit more about how the grants work, the types of activities that we fund, and give you an opportunity to ask questions about any projects that you might be thinking about. Once we release the RFR, we can't talk about specific project activities. So if you have a project in mind, please contact us, before the RFR is released, and we can talk about your project and give you some ideas about how to put together a competitive grant proposal. So we believe at this point we'll be releasing both RFRs in early December, and the proposals will be due in early February. So again, if you want to be on our email list to receive those notifications when they come out, same thing, just email me, and I'll make sure that you're put on the distribution list.
Thanks, Judy.
Sure.
Sarah Bertrand.
Thank you. I was just curious. I noticed on the agenda or notes page about the contested waterways course at Holy Cross and exploring CSO knowledge in Green Island. And I know I think Bryce, you're on the call, and I was just curious in learning a bit more about that and if there are any updates.
Sure, Bryce, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Not sure if he dropped off. Well, I'm pretty involved in that project as well. So Bryce is teaching this course, Contested Waterways, and his students are looking at CSO in the Green Island neighborhood in Worcester. They're looking at the social impacts, the history, how residents feel about CSO. Do they know about CSO, the health impacts as well? Really just gathering information at this point. We've met with some really great partners too. We recently met with Hilda from the Green Island Neighborhood Association. And she was super helpful in potentially connecting us to people in the neighborhood as well. So we're thinking about maybe putting together a survey, like what do you know about CSO and Green Island? The collaborative is also planning on making a video about CSO. And now we've recently learned that the majority of the community speaks Spanish. So if we're looking for a public-facing video, we'll probably do one in English and in Spanish. We're still kind of working all of that out, but we're really just trying to increase awareness of what it is, where it comes from, why it's there, and potential solutions, just organizing around this issue. But Bryce and his students have been really great in gathering information and learning about that history and social justice piece of it as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Sarah Pletnicki.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Okay, cool. So yes, CMRPC is currently working with the towns of Uxbridge, Sutton, Northbridge, and Douglas on an MVP 2.0 pilot project. And we're currently trying to recruit community liaisons to help form connections between each of the towns and with underrepresented communities from each of the towns. And each liaison will be a part of a core team to help lead conversations to further understand community needs and to develop a project that will address those needs and also support community resilience at the same time. So these liaisons will be compensated for their time as well. I'm just going to post a link to it's a Dropbox link that links the job descriptions for each town, and for each town there's a description available in I think 8 different languages. So if you could just share these descriptions with your contacts, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. Nick?
Yeah, hi. This is Nick. I just wanted to confirm and thank Judy for that helpful information. Did you say mid-December is the anticipated RFR date, and then proposals due in early February?
At this point in time, yes.
Okay, I was trying to type very quickly. I wanted to make sure I had that right. And then understand, of course, the RFR will lay out the specifics, but if we're trying to get our ducks in a row, and I think we've mentioned previously, there's some strong interest among the Blackstone groups in potentially applying for 604B funding. Is it fair to look at previous years RFRs just in terms of kind of general process, or anything process wise we should be thinking about for this year that might be different? And again, understand the specifics will be coming later, but we're trying to read between the lines where we can.
Right, yeah. Megan Selby is the 604B coordinator, so she is the best person to ask questions, but the RFR will generally be similar to previous RFRs. The big difference with this year's RFR is that we do have the bipartisan infrastructure law funding that will be added to it. So we will have significantly more funding than we have in the past. However, the BIL funding will be specifically targeting projects that revolve around climate resiliency, climate adaptation, and also environmental justice. So I think both of those are topics that could certainly be worked into proposals from especially the upper Blackstone area. So reach out to Megan if you have any questions. It's MEAGHAN.SELBY, Megan Selby at mass.gov. I can pop that into the chat if you like.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So thanks, Nick and Judy. Anyone else? Sarah, did you have more to add? I think she just left her hand up.
No, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Great. Okay, anyone else have anything they want to share with us?
I put in the chat that the MVP expression of interest process period is open. We try to solicit some ideas from our municipalities, people interested in projects. I put the link in the chat as well, but that's open through December 15th. And I am here to chat about any of it at the same time, because I know that our RFR comes out in the spring, and that can be a challenge for some municipalities. So starting to talk about it now is always a good thing, and I can help even with the EOI form if you want to talk through that as well.
Awesome, thanks, Hillary. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have something. I also popped some links in the chat. I found the link to this CSO briefing, so if you're interested in checking that out, feel free to look at that YouTube link. And then also wanted to plug, in case it wasn't already, the Water Quality Monitoring Grant Program. They released their RFR this week as well, and the deadline to apply to support your water quality monitoring programs is November 15th. And I think they're accepting questions for another week or two. So feel free to click the link and look at more information if you're interested.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you for the link to that. Anyone else? Okay, great. I think that's it. Quick meeting today. If you have any questions in the future, feel free to contact myself or staff. And I hope everyone has a really great weekend. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, Kaylee.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Bye,
Great job
everyone.
today,
Thank
Kaylee.
you.
Have a
Yeah,
good one,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.